Hey, it's Jared Cagle with Maxwell Leadership. We're reacting to some leadership clips.
I have this timer that I have on my desk. It's the easiest purchase you can make. I think it was like $7 on Amazon. It's a little twist kitchen timer. It's very easy. It's been probably my biggest focus hack, to date, which is I turn it when I want to start working. And part of it allows me to think how long I get better at predicting how long it's going to take me to do something. I think this will take me 35 minutes. So I turn the clock to 35 and I click on. Then I start working on the thing. And the moment my phone rings or I look at Slack or whatever, I stop the timer. And so you actually see that your time on task is usually significantly less than you think it is. And I think that in my early days, I would spend a very long time in front of a computer telling myself that I was working with very few minutes actually on task. And that's why I think that most things are actually significantly easier than people think they are. They just don't know how to try hard. And so it's like, if you can just learn to love what trying hard feels like, then all of a sudden it becomes unreasonable that you can't win.
Shout out to Alex Hormozy, Micah Stevens' favorite person in the whole world. I don't know if we can leave that in there or not, but shout out to Alex Hormozy helping us understand no matter where you are, no matter how far you are on your journey, no matter how big the company is that you're leading. I mean, this guy's leading $1 million, multi-million dollar, and multi companies that are multi-million dollar. He is leading big opportunities, big things. He's a person that a lot of us would desire to be similar to as an entrepreneur. And he's got a clock on his desk that he winds up and starts every time to remind him to stay on task. It's not the activity that makes you successful, right? It's working smarter. It's not being busy. It's actually accomplishing things when you sit down. And sometimes it takes something as simple as a clock.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. This is one of my favorite things to do when he's run large organization, but he has the ability to work on one thing at a time. And I think that's a big thing that gets people distracted is that they've got open 17 browsers in there when they say, "Hey, I'm going to go work on this one thing." And on the picture they show an actual digital clock, but what he's talking about is an actual egg timer. And what I love about the egg timer, because I used this for a very long time, is that little sound tick, 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 that lets you know when you're getting ready to drift off in thought that, hey, I've got to drift right back to what it is that I'm doing, and I'm just doing this one thing until it's done. A lot of people don't have the ability to focus on that one thing and get it done.
Man, they took me straight back to silent lunch in elementary school with that clock on the table telling me how much longer I've got to sit without talking to people when I was in trouble. That's awesome. That's awesome. The egg timer. It's the fundamentals. It's the little things. It's the like how disciplined are you with those little things, the tasks and taking care of one thing at a time, like you were talking about, Chris. We've got this clock to remind us that the time is fleeting. We got to take care of these little things. You may be in a spot, maybe we're speaking to some young people out there that are finding some instant quick hits with trading for crypto or being a part of influencer communities and able to really maximize and grow online. Like there's some instant type of opportunities out there that are very tempting and very compelling. The reality is no one achieved success over a long period of time without learning to develop daily habits, daily disciplines, and taking care of those moments, taking care of those little things. That's what's most important. And I don't want anyone to think just because you can get a quick million, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to reproduce that million over time with those same things that got you that quick result. We're talking about building wealth. We're talking about building businesses and projects and things to last. And if you're going to do that, you got to lay down those bricks every single day.
Well, I mean, the bottom line when it comes to those that are thinking instant results take time. So, yeah, you can have a big hit and whatever, a stock may run from you, a particular coin may run from you, but I would still be spending my time learning and studying those particular investments. I mean, if you look behind me, I got Bloomberg running right now. Why? Because it's an
This is
area
Jocko
where
Podcast number 476 with Echo.
it's an area where I
This is
have to study. There's nothing
this
that
is
you can
Jocko
gain.
Podcast number.
There's nothing that you can gain instantly without time. And so, although your time may not be in actual hard labor, your time may be in study. It may be in listening and
Yeah.
learning in pursuit of growth of whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And so, instant results do take time.
I think it's important to have people in your life that you can ask, hey, what is this priority look like to you? Whether it's a leader in your life or a parent or a mentor or a friend, even where they can help you reprioritize. They can put fresh eyes on the things that you're doing every day, and they can ask the hard questions that are simple. It's like, hey, where are you trying to get? What are you trying to do in the next year, in the next 5 years? And all of us need those checks and balances. Put
Yeah.
people around you that can help you reprioritize what you're working on.
Yeah, now I'd be careful there though, Jared, because when you're asking for that type of support, you got to be in the right rooms. Now,
Yeah.
because look, my family, my parents are phenomenal, but blue collar workers, both work for General Motors, and what they want me to do when I got out of school, they wanted me to go work at General Motors, and I hate labor. I mean, it's just I wasn't born with that bone in my body. I don't have a mechanical bone in my body. So what I had to do was you're right. I had to get that advice for my priorities of what I was doing, but I had to get into the right rooms and around the right people going in the
Mhm.
direction that I wanted to go because no one around me knew what it took to become a speaker, a coach, or a trainer. No one around me knew what it took to build that type of business. So I had to place myself around those and in a community around people that were going that direction. And so that getting advice from others
Yeah,
is great, but make sure you're getting advice from those that have been where you want to go or on the way to where you want to go.
it's great.
That's another thing. Like police officers, that 20% of time that should be spent training, that includes like, how are you getting in shape? Are you in shape?
You want to be in shape if you're a cop.
Oh my
Seriously.
God. You see these some of these videos of police officers and you're thinking, wait a second, how is this person gonna stop anybody that's remotely athletic? We did a podcast on the Uvalde situation, and it's just,
Yeah, it's terrible.
what else needs to happen in America to realize that we need more training? And by the way, the fact that people didn't respond and acted in a cowardly manner is also part of training. If you have a culture, and I used to see this with SEAL platoons, if you had a culture that like, you had some of these SEAL platoons coming through and they were like ready to take on the world, and you throw some scenario at them, they were going on the attack. And that's a culture that happens. We'd rather have you make a bad decision and do something than not make a decision at all.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
We'd rather be moving. We'd rather be going somewhere. The lessons are on the journey. That you're going to pick up stuff along the way. That action almost breeds creativity, and it also attracts resources as you're going. I 100% agree with this.
Yeah, I mean, action carries power with it. Action opens up and gives you answers to the next thing that you should do. And so making no decision is one of the worst things that you can do because when you make no decision, what happens is someone makes the decision for you and it may not be what you want it to be. So all the time I've got, again, I've got 6 kids and they're all uniquely different. And there's one that I have to get onto all the time because of make a decision, make a choice. And this one wants time. They want to think about it. They want to kind of wait around. And so then what happens? I make the decision for them. That's not what I want, Dad. Well, hey, you didn't make a decision. That's what you get. Don't throw a fit. And so anytime that you make a choice, it's okay. If you fail in your choice, that doesn't mean that you're a failure. You found out something didn't work that way. Now you can evaluate it, do something different. But action is always on the signpost to the results that you want. And, not making a decision will keep you in mediocrity. Of a real estate deal that cost me, $1.5 million. $1.5 million this cost me. I went to this location, to this house. I thought, oh, it's a nice house. What I'll do is I'll come back to it. If they don't have anybody, I'll make the decision when I'm ready to make the decision. So I began to kind of slow play, putting in the paperwork. I was kind of delaying some things. They said, hey, we need you to come and bring a check to the house. I was like, hey, I'll bring it to you tomorrow. And then sure enough, I say, hey, I'm coming tomorrow. And they say, hey, the house is sold. I said, what do you mean the house is sold? They said, well, you didn't have the actual signed contract. I said, I know, but I told you I'm bringing you the check tomorrow. Now, I could have made a way around work to do it, but I was sitting in indecision, and that house in a year and a half went up $1.5 million. Indecision
Mm.
cost me a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, this was a hard lesson for me to learn. It's real easy to get on the stage and talk about how important it is to act and move forward. But this is for my life and for my journey in business. I mean, I can remember one time specifically where, because I delayed and because I took more time to think about it and didn't address the issue with the client that I had, that client became a multi six-figure problem for the company. And it's all because I waited an extra 2 months to actually make the conversations happen. And it's difficult, lessons like that. Sometimes we have to learn it the hard way, that you may not know exactly how to go about a conversation. You may not have the exact answers in the moment, but you got to start stepping. You got to start going in the direction that because if you don't, grass is going to grow. People are going to change. If there's a gap, somebody's going to fill that gap, and it may cost you, and it may cost your business as well.
If my team isn't doing what I want them to do, my instinct isn't to blame the team. My instinct is to look at myself and say, wait a second, how am I not leading them correctly where they will do what they need to do? What mistakes am I making that I can adjust and change so that I improve my ability to bring people into the organization?
Yeah, I mean, I love this. He's absolutely right. The law, John Maxwell talks about the law of the picture. Law of the picture says that people do what people see. And so as the leader, people are going to do what you do. And so it's very important that not only we just tell people what to do, but we model what we're doing. And so it comes down to simple things. If you want, your teammates to pick up the trash and you're the owner of the company, pick up the trash. If you want people to show up on time, show up on time. It's very difficult to enforce or discipline on something that you do not do. So this goes to the age-old rule of, don't tell people what to do, show them what to do. Also inside of that, they took a poll of, the attributes of what they liked most out of leaders, and it was leaders leading by example was the number one response that people gave when they wanted something from a leader. And so for this, I think the first place that you'll have to always look when your people aren't doing what you want them to do is look directly at yourself.
I would say that this is a lot easier said than done. I would say that this is something that a lot of people struggle with, to be secure enough in yourself, your position, self-confident enough to be able to look at a problem or even a failure and look at it in the face. And the first person to look at is yourself. Take responsibility, show people who you really are, and own it. That's a hard thing for most people to do. And I think it's a little bit easier for people that have proven themselves and have a track record. It's easier for them to be able to exhibit these types of things, or even someone who's a little more self-confident, just naturally, they come with a greater sense of confidence. It's easier for them to be able to do what Jocko's talking about here. I wonder, for those that are out there that are saying like, if I'm honest, if I own it, if I put myself out there like that, my biggest fear is that I'm going to get fired. I'll say, for me, there's been times like that in my own journey where I'm like, okay, how much do I say? How much do I own? Maybe they'll forget about it. Maybe they won't notice. It's this self-preservation almost that sneaks into us sometimes.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, and again, I think this is a leadership maturity thing as well too. I don't think you're going to find a young person that's going to say, what, I've got full ownership and this is on me. But at the end of the day, what he's talking about is being a mature leader. And yeah, you're right. That does take time in order to develop in that. And it does take time to develop that confidence to get to a place like that. So, yep. But
I
at the end of
remember
the day, people do what people see.
people do what people see. I remember the first time I lost, in my mind, I lost the company almost $100,000. And Mark Cole looked at me and he said, "What went wrong? What happened?" And I stumbled. I stumbled hard. I didn't know how hard. I didn't know how open I should be. I didn't know how to walk through that. And he let me sweat. He let me stumble. And then he said, "You'll get them next time."
Right.
We can learn from this. We're not losing if we're learning, right? And so as leaders, I think the principle is make sure you're giving people room. make sure you're giving them room to fail sometimes, and giving them a safe place to be able to process through that and learn through that. And for the person who's not the leader in that situation, like I was, the lesson is own it fast, own it open, and just keep moving, and your leaders will respond well to that. They'll help you move forward.
Yeah, I think it's keep moving. It's like, yeah, hey, that didn't work, but here's what we're doing next. Right?
Yeah,
And you keep moving.
it's
Love
good.
it.
From my perspective, when people ask me all the time, I lack discipline, how can I get discipline in my life? And no one wants to hear this answer. No one wants to hear it.
Just do it.
One of the first steps you can take to impose discipline in your life is to wake up early in the morning. Because let's face it, when the alarm goes off, you got your head on that soft pillow. It's all nice and cozy and warm in there. You do not feel like getting up. You should not. That snooze alarm is...
That's insane.
I call that snooze alarm the dream killer. Like when you press that snooze button, you're killing your dreams. No, where people get worried and people freak out is sleep is healthy. Sleep is good for you. I know that. I get it. And people say, you're telling people not to sleep. No, I'm not telling people not to sleep.
You do 6 hours every night, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I usually go to bed around 10:30, 11, and I wake up at 4:30. So I get 5.5 to 6 hours almost every night, you know? And sometimes I tell people, I think sleeping is good. I do it almost every single day.
Almost every single day. I love it. Jocko had on his Instagram for a little while, I don't know if he's still doing it, he would literally just post every morning a picture of his watch. And it's like 3:57, 4:02, 4:01. Every single day, it's like right around that same time frame where he's getting up. I think this is hard for me. I'll be honest. It's hard for me to get up that early, but I totally agree that we have to beat that first bear almost. We have to wrestle that first bear in the morning, which is the snooze alarm and the comfort that we're feeling. My bed is programmed. It's got a number attached to it. It can go up and down. It's soft when I want it to be. It's cool I spent a lot of money on that bed.
Yeah, you
I don't
can't
want to
hide
get out of that bed, but we got to do it if we're going to get where we want to go.
Yeah, I've evolved with this over time now, and the reason I've evolved with this over time because I don't believe that everybody should have to wake up early in the morning in order to be productive. Now, case in point for me is that I have 6 kids. I've talked about this often, but I've got triplets, I've got a single, and I've got twins. Now, when the triplets were born, this was just an absolute chaos of a schedule. And then when they became toddlers, it really became a hassle because I wasn't being woken up by the alarm clock. I was being woken up by fighting, biting, kicking, screaming. And I was trying to get my day started with that. And so what I decided to do was I said, hey, I'm not even going to fight that this morning. I'm going to go and, I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to situate them. And then what I ended up finding myself doing was instead of fighting with them in the morning, trying to have my time there, I was actually staying up later at night because they were going to bed early. So I think that you have to find the rhythm that works for you. Now, we all get 24 hours, and it looks like this. Hey, if you work 8 hours, you sleep 8 hours, what do you do with the other 8 hours? Now, you can play with those numbers however you want. 6 hours, 8 hours, and you got some more time left there. What do you got? What do you do with that 10 hours? So it's really about working with the time that you do have in a way that it works for you. But I do not believe everybody should be in the 4 a.m., 5 a.m. club in order to be productive. Make it work for you.